According to Sumerian mythology, 450,000 years ago, gods came down from the sky and called them Anunnaki. The supreme god stayed in the sky as Anu. And two sons, Enlil and Enki, came down with the Anunnakis and built a civilization on the ground. While the Anunnaki were building a civilization, they were dissatisfied with excessive labor and started treason. So Enlil and Enki put down the rebellion and created a human being by mixing soil with the rebel leader, to quell dissatisfaction by using it for labor instead of the gods. However, over time, there is now a problem that the number of humans becomes too large. God and man make love and a half-person is born. There's also an accident where humans figure out the skills of the gods. Eventually, Enlil decides to reduce the number of humans. It started with famine. And then he causes a great flood. A few people who survived then rebuilt humanity for a long time, creating a Sumerian civilization that led to the Urks. The Sumerians thought of this myth as real history. Each city served its guardian deity and built a temple in the middle of the city. The Sumerian region was flooded with fine clay instead of running out of wood or metal. The Sumerians baked the soil in a kiln over 1000 degrees Celsius and used it for construction. And especially the brick on a flat earth bed that made the temple stand tall, so that it wouldn't nod to the flood. This would have been to create something that would not change even in the ever-changing natural phenomena. This temple is called Ziggurat. Ziggurat means a high peak. Ziggurat was terraced by stacking bricks on top of it, and a temple was placed on top of it. The Sumerians built the temple higher and higher as if their goal was to reach the sky. It would have been important to express this visually, because myths were not spontaneous, but created by human imagination. As a result, 30 ziggurat are found in Mesopotamia today. This ziggurat was not made in one city at a certain time, but over a long period of time, several peoples were dry. There are so many different forms that it is possible that this ziggurat later influenced pyramid architecture. In most city-states, the entire city life was created around this ziggurat. The ziggurat temple had a priest, and the temple had various instruments and instruments used for ceremonies. Ziggurat was equipped with administrative functions as well as religious functions. The distribution of food throughout the city took place right over here. Since all the produce belonged to God, the crops harvested from each village were collected in ziggurat. This grain was redistributed according to the principles of each city. Most would have been distributed according to status. The king at the top of his status controlled all of the land as a representative of God, and below him the officials and soldiers formed the ruling class, and the commoners and slaves formed the ruling class. This hierarchy has long been a model for Western social classes. There were many experts in ziggurat. There were bakers, weavers, barbers, jewelers, launderers, painters. Above all, there was a scribe whose job was handwriting. This means that there was a Sumerian script. The first letters of mankind that arose in the Sumerian civilization began by displaying quantities. In those days when there were no numbers, they made mud and marked them to effectively manage their crops and livestock. This is called a number table. A financial transaction receipt was found in the Sumerian ruins, which supports this. And gradually in Sumer, writing starts to develop. The invention of writing further advanced Sumer's economic system, which created schools for the establishment of private property and text education. Also, the invention of writing further promoted classification, creating a complex social structure. Now they're able to manage their tax data, and they're able to figure out how much resources the country now has. And they can predict how much resources they'll get in the future, and they can predict population growth. And so, by using letters, there's a possibility that the city could develop into a kingdom and even expand into an empire. And this possibility led to more wars between countries. From 2900 to 2800 BC, warm and humid climates ended and dry climates hit the Sumerian region. This led to a fierce war between city-states to take over fertile soil called Eden. In this process, Urk is gradually declining and two city-states, Nagish and Umma, are fighting for defeat. So the two cities continued their war for 250 years, and finally, with the activities of the Lugaljages, in 2359 BCE, Munma becomes the final ruler of Sumer. I think the story is getting too long, so I'm going to stop here. So that's all we've talked about Sumerian civilization. The Sumerian civilization was the first ancient civilization to have a great influence on shaping human civilization today. If you have any other information, please leave it in the comments. That was Short Stories.